Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. It's an overwhelming presence. I couldn't believe when they told me that shortly after we launch our academic alliance, we will receive such a big interest from you. And I would like to start with a short story about myself. Actually, I think that I understand quite well the challenges that India faces. I was born in a socialist country. I am a product of kind of mid-level people. My mother was actually a teacher. My father was a civil engineer. And I think many of you recognize this kind of background. And I was raised to become a doctor or an engineer, which is a common story. And I was lucky to be gifted with a bit of math talent. So I cruised along in the high school. I was able to go once to the National Math Olympiad, and then it was the teachers made it easy for me to even to go to the university, but university was a big shock to me. So it coincides my entry year in the university with the change of the political regime, switching from communist socialism to kind of more democratic regime. And the country experienced really tough times. And I remember, look, when I really love high school math. And it was about solving problems. It was about something practical. You get the feeling of the satisfaction. You get a quick feedback. When I came to the university, I was suddenly faced with such an abstract learning that was, again, overwhelming. And in all this social turmoil, kind of made me step away from the school. And look, in the first couple of years, I didn't learn much. The school was not welcoming, really. And I was trying to do some kind of jobs to find myself a way. It was actually what was wrong in our society, the change. Teachers were, before this fall of communism, teachers were regarded like one of the highest castes in the society. After that, since the new type of economy created all this type of people that come from not educated background, but they are able to succeed economically, that created a bit of change in the society. And we see even today how bad it is, because the values of the society are reversed. It produced dramatic results. And in my really fight, my hardship, my finding my way, I was lucky at some point to meet one of my colleagues that I knew from before, and going for coffee, he told me that I got a very good job in Romania. I asked him what kind of job, like a programmer, and I asked him, how much did you make per month? And he said me $300, and I was shocked, because in Romania, 1993, $300 was king pay, really. And I said to myself, wow, I have to do this. That shouldn't be so difficult. But university didn't teach me really anything pragmatic, really. I couldn't just go and find a job. I didn't have the skills. And it was that summer when I got from a friend of mine, I got a book called C++ Programming, written by Bjarne Strostrup. And that was an enlightenment to me. I read this book as an adventure book. Really, I learned a lot of programming, and without having a computer. I am one of the guys, I've become a developer, professional developer. I worked later for Microsoft in Seattle, but I learned programming without a computer, by a book. But I don't think we had to we have to put, this generation of students through the same hardship. I think an important lesson is, besides the abstract sides of things that we teach them, which are very important for kind of enlarging the vision, we have to teach also vocational things that will give them a quick career in life. And looking at India, India is now taking from China the first developing country in the world, flag. And but still, out of the 1.2 billion Indians, only 10% really contributes to the Indian GDP. Indians' GDP, recently surpassed French GDP. And the key, really, to this advance is to educate. It's education, and actually, I think it's also reskilling of the existing people. We all know that kind of the BPO industry was important in India, but labor arbitrage is losing a bit the importance in the modern world. And this reskilling, I think, is going to be important in creating way better horizontal jobs. Because with every good, let's say, RPA job or computer programming, high-level job that produce much more value, you build a horizontal ecosystem around this. You build food delivery, you build gig economy. It's a lot that contributes to the elevation of the entire country. And really, I think it's a lot of pressure and responsibility on your shoulders as teachers, as professors, to raise this country. But somehow you are lucky in a sense, because I've seen in Indians true love for their country. It's rare to see outside people such passion about being Indians and about doing what's best for the country. And I think you are again in a great position to really contribute significantly to the society. And now I wanna give you my pitch about why RPA should be on your agenda. So it's obviously there is a shortage for this profession, and it's not so difficult to learn. You don't have to be a rock star developer to produce. It gives very quick returns. It's more like math in high school. You solve problems and it gives you satisfaction. And I can tell you, many of our RPA engineers are really happy in their job. They go to a client, they implement an automation, and they see the joy of people. Because people literally say, wow, I don't have to do this task anymore. It's a relief. It's not, this fear of losing jobs is more like, marketing hype. It's more like media hype. It's because it draws people attention. But in reality, technologies don't remove jobs. Technologies and automation and AI and whatever helps people to focus on what's more important and what matters for them. Because technologies replace activities. Technologies don't replace jobs. I've seen a McKinsey study saying that technology today can replace top 5% of the jobs in the world. All the other will be improved by technology. And technology will generate way more jobs and way more better jobs. And this is really the chance of India right now to build. Indians have a talent on the process part, on the analytical part. And this is key talent. So you have the resources and you have the gift of this talent, this combination is extremely powerful in this industry. And RPA, it's a gate entry to AI. And besides getting a job, they will get a feel how to build next generation of AI. It's an entry. And let me explain you why. One of the quickest benefit of AI is in natural language processing. A lot of RPA, it's a technology that will allow you to read emails, read unstructured documents, legal documents, being able to classify them and extracting information. That's a low-hanging fruit for AI. And this technology, it's actually a fantastic entry into the world of computer science and programming. Look, another story from me, how I learn. So I learn by myself computer science. I started basically learning from a higher level, not from the low level. And somehow this is more interesting. I learn, let's say, Windows programming directly using much higher programming models like Microsoft Foundation or something, not low level. When you start with something easier, it's easy to capture your interest. So RPA can help develop the interest for programming because they will understand it, they will see early benefits, and the true programming concepts lurks into the RPA concepts. RPA is just a simplification. So another thing that I think I learned in my life, and I learned it, quite early, and I continue to learn it as I progress, is that when you are kidding about something, and when you are doing something only to check a box, this is not gonna succeed. If you do something, wow, RPA, it's something nice to have on a curriculum, but you don't believe in it, don't do it. Really, do it. Don't be kidding about this program. This is way too important. That's important for the kids' learning, and it's also important for your universities building a differentiator. And it's success brings success. First generation of students that will find joy in this course will tell to other generation and so on. And your university will become more successful. And in a sense, why UiPath? Look, we can talk more about product differentiators. What I can tell you is this is a product that was built by software engineers without any understanding of business. We were crazy enough to spend 10 years in a small apartment in Bucharest just building this computer vision technology that is the basis of our RPA. And we were extremely lucky to find in India amazing partners. Our journey and actually the experience that we have in India, it's very well connected. The first, and that's also an interesting story about luck, about how it's, how history is written in a sense. Around 2013, end of 2013, we had, quite a lot of our software today, but we haven't found a good use for it. And then we have received, a request from a guy that lives in Chennai, and he worked back then for a BPO company, asking us for a demo. And he came to us from a Yahoo address. And even then, you need to qualify who respond to, but I don't know, I had a hunch and I asked one of our developers, go and talk to and show a demo to this guy. And she came 1 hour later to me, you know, Daniel, this is quite it's a big company, you should talk to him. And we talked, and in that time, he asked me, how do you compare with Blue Prism? Because they use Blue Prism, it's one of our competitors. And I told him, I don't know, really, how do I compare? It's the first time I heard about this company. But anyways, he understood it. He has done a due diligence on the software. And one very important aspect here. This guy was so pissed off from Blue Prism. Blue Prism is a typical UK company, and it's an arrogant company. And this guy was so pissed off on Blue Prism, he searched on the internet a replacement for that software, and he found us. And he liked it because our software had a very visual nature and it's very easy to understand. And he convinced his bosses to start a pilot with us in parallel with that established company. And this is instrumental for us to be. We won't be here today without that pilot in Chennai. So, you know, our best people came here to Chennai. We worked for 2 months, and we built a prototype, and we understood the industry. We understood here, really, this is the best industry for us. And we have established then as basically the first external office where we open simultaneously in UK and here in India. And since then, we have invested a lot. And UiPath is not a Romanian company. UiPath, it's a global company. We were invested simultaneously on all the 3 continents. If you look at our leadership, we have Japanese people, Indians people, Romanians, Americans, British people, French people, German people. And it's a fantastic environment. We have experienced what diversity and inclusion means. Nobody feels excluded in UiPath. And we learn from this lesson, arrogance is it's simply something that stands in the progress, stands in the mind changing. And if you look at that British company and you see they stopped, they made some decisions and they cannot change them. And it's unbelievable to see a company of 5 people passing them like a rocket ship. Because they are a small company compared to UiPath right now. And even in worldwide presence, in development, in everything. But arrogance makes you stuck in your mindset. And so this is why we put at the center pillar of our culture humility. And I truly believe that humility is the value that you should teach as the most important value of the next generation of people. Because humility makes you listening to others, makes you not afraid of losing face, makes you much easier to change, to accept that you are wrong and change your decisions. And besides humility, another important pillar of our culture is to be fast. And I know universities are not fast by definition, but we are living in a world of such big changes that you cannot afford, the status quo things anymore. You should act, you should change, you should be fast. And in the fastest company always wins, and UiPath is an example for this. We break everything, every rule, for the sake of being fast. The fastest university will attract the most students, will create the fastest country in the world, and the fastest country in the world will take its people out of poverty and will create wealth and well-being and happiness. The fastest we do this, the better. So thank you so much.